Hello.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. Good evening and welcome. For those of you who is a regular at our webinars, you already know the agenda. But for those who is joining for the first time, I'll just quickly say a couple of words about us. So we are Data Natives, a community of data scientists, founders, entrepreneurs, and tech professionals. And basically our mission is to help our community to learn, to debate, to connect and share ideas, and to start collaborations. And for this purpose of lifelong education and to also keep ourselves mentally fit during these times, we are organizing live events like this, where we invite experts to share their thoughts on specific topics. And so today we are welcoming Dr. Martina Dopfer to share her tips and insights on using mindfulness for business innovation. So before we give her a virtual stage, I'd like to introduce Martina a little bit more in detail. She is the co-CEO and co-founder at Mindway, and she helps companies of all sizes to combine mindfulness and innovation and create sustainable success in the era of rapid transformation that basically is the case right now. And after 10 years working as a head of sales in Berlin-based startups and consulting for companies like Deutsche Telekom and Google and Daimler, she earned her PhD at the University of St. Gallen and in Berlin at Humboldt. And during her studies, Martina investigated how actually the digital business models of startups evolve and develop. So today she's going to talk about mindfulness and how mindfulness can help with business and innovating in businesses. So you can expect to learn about some science, yes, so neuroscientific backgrounds to mindfulness and tap into the potential of plastic brain. Why stimulating empathy and emotional intelligence is a big boost to successful innovation practices, and of course also some practical tips, mindful micro practices that are easily integratable in life. So you can expect to learn all these amazing things. And at the end of the session, we will allocate approximately 15 minutes for your questions. Martina will answer them, and we would like to make it a little bit more interactive. So we will unmute your microphones and let everyone speak, maybe share your thoughts if you don't have a question, but just want to share your insights, you're welcome to do so. For shy people, somebody who doesn't want to, talk in the microphone or share their video camera, you're free to just type your questions in chat and we will address them as well. It's the same for people who are joining us through YouTube because we are live streaming there. We'll go through comments there if you have any questions. So that's it from my side, and I let Martina now kick off her talk.
Thank you very much, Ginja. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our session today, Mindful Business Innovation. I'm just sharing my screen, and I think by now everyone should see it. So today we're going to talk about how to use mindfulness for business innovation. But before we go deeper, I would like to invite you to briefly rate how new you are to mindfulness. Because our experience is very often when we talk about mindfulness, we have people who are very, very new to the topic. And then we also have people who have a lot of experience on mindfulness and different mindful practices. So just briefly go to this website, type in the code, and quickly rate how new you are to mindfulness. And this also helps me a little bit to come up with different recommendations on mindful micro practices as we go. All right, and when you're done rating, I would like to invite you to just sit down comfortably, because we're not only going to talk about mindfulness today, we're also going to experience it. And this is why we start with a little meditation practice right now. So when you're ready, sit down comfortably, Maybe even sit down on the floor if you already have a meditation practice. Relax your arms, put them somewhere where you feel, oh, this is just right for me right now. If you've crossed your legs, please uncross your legs and bring both feet to the ground. And if you feel comfortable with it, close your eyes. Otherwise, just focus on a neutral point. And then slowly and gradually arrive in a state of relaxation. Try to relax your feet and your legs. Let yourself sink a little deeper into your chair, your pillow. Soften your belly and your chest. Allow your arms and hands to relax. Relax your shoulders and your shoulder blades. And send some ease into these tiny little tense spots in your neck. Soften your jaw and the small muscles around your mouth, around your nose, and around your eyes. Relax your face and notice how a sensation of softness moves down your spine until it arrives in your toes. And just stay with your body for a moment and watch. Just watch and discover. Maybe you will find some areas and spaces in your body where you notice tension. Maybe there are some other areas where you notice softness and relaxation. Whatever you sense, just watch. Be curious. And then maybe shift your focus to your breath. Just observe your breath for a moment. Watch your inhale and your exhale as they come naturally. And just observe these little waves that are going through your body with every in and every exhale. Now for a moment, let all of your focus go. And just be there with everything that is. Your body, physical sensation, your emotions. Just be there. Now refocus on your breath. And let's all together take 3 deep in and exhales. Imagine that we're all meditating together right now. Let's all breathe together right now. Deeply inhale and exhale. Let go. And one more, deeply inhale. And exhale, let go. And one last time, deeply inhale. And exhale, let go. And before we come back, maybe send a nice little wish into our group. Just send it now. And also notice how the nice wishes of everyone in the group are coming and floating towards you. Maybe you notice how this brings a little grateful smile to your face. And with all these wishes and your little smile on your face, slowly, slowly come back. When you're ready, open your eyes. And maybe just send a little smile into our group today. From wherever we are watching, from wherever we are sitting, I think it's always nice to know that we're here together, that we're sharing this moment of presence, of mindfulness. Yeah, and I'm really, really excited to talk with you now about mindfulness for business innovation. But before we dig deeper, just a brief question. How are you feeling today, or how are you feeling right now? Feel free to just type it into our chat or maybe send a small emoticon and we will just all see how you're doing today. It's always nice to know who is there and what is going on. Thank you so much. And as you're typing, I will start sharing our agenda for today. So what we're going to do is we will look at barriers to innovation together today. And next we will look at mindfulness for innovation. So be surprised. And at the end, we will wrap our session up with practical tools for mindful innovation and Virginia already said before, we're going to answer the questions towards the end, but if you have a question as we go, feel free to type it in and we will get back to your question at the end. So you already heard a lot about me, so I don't have to go deeper into this anymore. Here, just a brief overview, but I would like to go directly to the beginning of, innovation and the journey of change. And all change really starts with a spark of courage. All innovation starts with a spark of courage. And as I've been thinking about this courage and how courage actually comes together with change and innovation, I came up with the circle of courage. In my opinion, the circle never goes linear. However, I really feel that it is a circle. We're going through life, we're making certain experiences, and as we share those experiences with others, we grow, and this leads to learning. And I think this is a continuous circle in life that is also really important to identify needs for innovation and to also follow through with innovation. But now, when we talk innovation and change, we also have to see what is actually creating barriers for innovation. And a lot of barriers are created within ourselves. So just for a moment, think about yourself. You're starting a new project and you're setting yourself a goal. And at the beginning of this project, you put in a lot of effort in order to achieve a really, really good result. So basically, you expect the result to develop as it is shown in the red arrow. But to be honest, what is usually happening is more something like this, right? At the beginning, we put in a lot of effort because our brain and the cognitive system want something and they have decided to go for it. But what happens is sometimes as we're trying to achieve our goals, we're not really listening to our body, to the somatic system. So what is happening? The brain wants one thing, but the body can only deliver so much. And as it comes to its limits, it adapts. And this is what we experience sometimes as stress. So the problem is, most of the time, we're so much in our heads that we're not aware how important it is to make the brain and the body a team, to align them so that they both basically help us to achieve our goals. So a quick question for you, and you can write that down for yourself as a reminder and also share it here in our chat. What do you sense when you're stressed? What are the physical symptoms you're sensing when you're stressed? I can just briefly share what I experience. When I'm super stressed, sometimes I notice that my tummy isn't doing too well, or sometimes I get really hurt in my neck, or my jaw kind of feels tense. So maybe you have sensations like this, and please feel free to share them here in our chat so that we can learn from each other. Awesome, thank you so much. So stress can become a barrier to change. Innovation comes with new thoughts, with novel thoughts. Overall, science says that we think about 70,000 thoughts a day, which is a lot of thoughts, right? 70% of these thoughts are repetitive thoughts. 27% of these thoughts are negative thoughts driven by fear, and only about 3% are new thoughts. So the problem is when we're getting caught up in repetitive thoughts or even in negative loops or in negative spirals, the amount of new thoughts decreases, which makes it hard for innovation to develop, right? Now, when we look at the current situation, we see fear, we see uncertainty, because people don't know where this whole journey is going, how the corona crisis may affect their workplace, their employers, their company, but maybe also the family or yourself, your health. We see people who are working from home and they have to take care of their families at the same time while they're working, so they're feeling overwhelmed. And other people are sitting at home, living alone, and they experience loneliness. All of this can cause stress, anxiety, traumatic symptoms. And these emotions really become barriers to innovation, to creating new and novel thoughts, and to following through. Because what happens when we're experiencing stress is we're not seeing the world like this anymore. So our awareness of the world is not as wide anymore. The more stressed we are, the smaller becomes our world and the way we perceive the world. And maybe you have experienced this a little bit as well over the past weeks. So our world is changing, and I think we can all agree with that, right? Our world was already changing before this big crisis that has happened over the past 2 months, and it is changing even faster. And stress and pressure really become barriers to sustainable change, to innovation. At the same time, we know in order to drive innovation in a business context, but also in a societal context, we need others, we need to work together. However, collaboration is really hard under pressure, because when we're dealing with our own emotions, it's really hard for us to be empathetic with other people. And then there's another thing, new ideas do not always fit into grown structures. Maybe you've experienced this before. You bring a new idea into the workplace. You want to kind of create a new product or a new business model that is really, really innovative. And then someone in the company says, but we've always done it differently. Yeah, you probably have experienced this before. I think in one way or another, we all have. I have facilitated a lot of innovation processes and journeys. And I have heard this sentence of yes, but very often. Yes, but is a killer of innovation, so to say. But it's also a sign of uncertainty, of fear of the unknown, and of stress, the unknown causes. And when you look at the picture that is shown here, we can see what the brain experiences when it is in a stressful situation or in a fearful situation. Fear and stress occupy a lot of space in our brain. So basically, they consume a lot of energy. And when all of this energy is going into managing fear and into managing also the physical symptoms that are coming up through stress and through fear, how can we actually create new and innovative thoughts, or how can we drive innovations? It's really hard, right? So what becomes more important is different practices that help us to foster a state of resilience and well-being, which is the foundation for creating new ideas and for making them real. And then in the next step, what becomes more important also is empathy, collaboration, aiming for deep relationships in order to drive creativity and innovation together. Now let's look at how we can achieve this through mindfulness practices. Regular mindfulness practice fosters well-being and resilience. But let's take a step back. What does mindfulness actually mean? Mindfulness is defined as a state of presence. It's a state of being in the here and now without judgment. And it is fostered through different mindfulness practices. Mindfulness practices can include meditation, different forms of meditation, yoga, or other kind of mindful movement. But over the past couple of years, what we have seen is an emergence of different mindfulness programs for the workplace. And when we talk about these mindfulness programs for the workplace, we should look at what these programs actually include. They include also practices, they include mindful movement, but they also include practices to support communication and to support reflection and personal development. The great thing about programs these days is, especially when they are part of the corporate world, that they all have to be tracked and measured. So a lot of really smart people came together to measure the results of these programs. Neuroscientists, medical doctors, psychologists, and they all looked at the results of different mindfulness practices with regards to people doing these programs in the workplace, but also beyond that. And they found that these programs foster well-being and resilience, and that was measured by the following. First, what people reported was that their sensation of stress lowered. When we experience stress, our body produces cortisol. And the measurements showed that the cortisol level of participants of these meditation or mindfulness programs, so the level of stress actually reduced, and that was measured by the cortisol level. Sleep improved. So people reported that it was easier for them to fall asleep at night and that their sleep was generally deeper and better, which also means that they went back to the workplace more relaxed and hopefully also more happy. And then another group, this time a leadership group, reported that their performance under pressure got better. So they basically got better at making decisions quickly. How can you achieve that? Maybe just do a practice like we did at the beginning. That kind of meditation practice really helps you to look at your emotions, to not judge them, and to build resilience over time. Now let's focus on empathy and compassion as the foundations for collaboration. Mindfulness helps us to connect deeply. Basically, different mindfulness practices activate a part in the brain that is responsible for us feeling empathy towards ourselves, but also towards others. People who joined these programs in the workplace that I talked about before reported that their attention during conversations really got better through regular mindfulness practice. Other people reported that their emotional intelligence increased, which means their appreciation for the accomplishments of themselves and other people increased. And that's a great thing, right? So now probably you wonder, so how can I do that? How can I train my empathy muscle? A little practice for that can be that you just sit down and you think of a colleague, a friend, or maybe a family member, and you think of a situation where you felt gratitude towards them. And then just send them a thank you and really connect with this feeling of gratitude. And this is a beautiful way to train your empathy. Now, innovation and creativity are friends, and creativity arises through openness. Mindfulness is also a really amazing way to train your capability to learn, and it is said to increase mental flexibility. What do I mean by that? Firstly, it has been reported through science that people who have a regular mindfulness practice learn complex and new details faster. And mental flexibility basically means that they can connect the dots faster. And when we look at our fast-changing world at the moment, we can really see that we need that. A lot of people are talking right now about the high complexity, all the new information that is streaming and floating in all the time. So this is really a great way to also deal with a lot of complex and new information. And then mindfulness also fosters self-confidence, our feeling of self-worth, which in my opinion is a great leverage for this courage, for this courage to change and to move something. And it also helps us to be open for new ideas. A practice to foster openness, the so-called open awareness meditation, where you just sit down and remember what we did in our meditation towards the end. We just watched without focusing on the breath, without focusing on the body. And this kind of meditation really fosters openness and creativity. It basically provides space for new ideas to bubble up. So let me briefly wrap this up with some mindfulness micro practices on the go. First, what I really love is the breathing anchor. So imagine, especially right now, we have a lot of meetings, a lot of online meetings, and sometimes we switch from one meeting to the next. But if you have only 2 or 3 minutes, use them to reconnect with yourself through your breath. Inhale deeply 3, 4, or 5 times, and you will instantly feel a sensation of calm going through your body. Another thing is the digital mind 3.0, or using your smartphone as mindful friend. There are amazing apps which you find when you look for random reminders, and they remind you randomly during the day to take mindful breaks. So this way you can make your smartphone really kind of your mindful guidance during the day. And then the last point, empathy equals me, moments of compassion. We already had that. Sometimes when you feel like, oh, now I want to train my empathy a little bit, maybe just share a moment of gratitude with someone in your mind and also feel how this feeling of compassion is kind of floating back to you. Then mindfulness for innovation. There are very beautiful techniques to foster innovation. For instance, when you're innovating in the team, when you have a brainstorming session, or when you have an inquiry to new ideas. And one tool I really like is appreciative inquiry. So this is basically a way away from the yes, but towards appreciating the new idea and looking what is good about it, what is good about the context, about the ecosystem, what is good about the idea looking into the future. And well, just Google appreciative inquiry and you will find a lot of useful questions and techniques to explore new ideas with curiosity. Then point 2, focus, create space for stillness. I said that before, especially right now, we have a lot of meetings, we have a lot of online meetings, and all of these meetings aren't really a support for focus and concentration. So in order to foster more focus and concentration at the beginning of a meeting, if you're the facilitator, just set 1 minute and invite everyone to be still for a minute. You will notice this instantly increases focus and concentration in the meeting. And then a last point, envision and share your vision with the team. What I have seen is a lot of innovation journeys don't start with sharing the bigger vision. And a great practice to do that is to talk about the bigger vision in the team and then to take a moment for everyone to really dive into this vision, to feel what it means for them, to see what it means for them in the future. And this vision may be entirely different for everyone, but there will still be a shared feeling of, wow, this is great, and we believe in this new innovation. And I think this is always a great motivational driver for an innovation journey. It doesn't really matter if it's a business model or a product. All right, if you want more of these practices or more tools, you can always go to our website, mindway.com. But for now, I think I would like to give the stage to you and answer any questions that came up for you right now. So just type them in or wave your hand, and then we will give you the word, and you can also loudly share your question. Yeah, I don't really see any questions in the screen yet. Maybe you have an option to read out. No.
Okay, if no one have questions, I can ask.
Okay. Of course, feel free.
Yeah, can I ask?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so can you a little bit elaborate about your background?
My background, yes, sure. You basically want to know how I got to mindfulness, I assume. My background is I worked in the corporate world for a while, and then I also worked in startup, basically business sales and business development. I always felt that something was missing. And then I started facilitating a lot of business model innovation journeys. We did a lot of design thinking and creativity, but I always felt that even there something was missing. We had the most amazing ideas, but it felt really hard to realize those ideas together with leaders, with managers, with people in organizations. And then I basically stumbled into yoga practices. I did a yoga teacher training, and I noticed for myself I'm more productive, I'm more creative. I got so much done. And that was the starting point for me. I've been researching before on decision making and cognitive factors and how they impact innovation. And neuroscience just was the next step. And I looked into this, and for me, it was like, okay, this is why we sometimes feel that the yes but is more important than the yes and. And this is what is actually happening. So the stress of change, the stress of not knowing what's going to come. And this is when I started integrating all of these different mindfulness practices into first the innovation journeys, but now really also into this whole bigger question of how is the future of work going to look like? What does that have to do with change and with innovation in the workplace? And yeah, that was and is my journey, and I feel it never stops. Okay, we have a question here. Give me a second to read it. Some neuroscientists, so Dimitra says, some neuroscientists and meditation experts are afraid that mindfulness is more of a hype than a science. Are there actually any downsides to mindfulness practices? And if yes, what one should be aware of? Wow, that's a beautiful question. Thank you for that. Yes, I mean, I agree. It's a hype right now. But I think with every hype comes something good. And at the end of the day, mindfulness and mindfulness meditation is about your experience. It's about what you experience and which way it can help you. So before checking all the science, and I know we're all rational brains and we need the science and the data and the facts, just create some data and some facts with yourselves and with your own practice. What should you be aware of? Well, I mean, there isn't really a lot of counter recommendations to mindfulness practices yet. What I always say, start with a beginner's mind and be gentle with yourself. So don't make a challenge out of it by saying, okay, I'm going to start meditation and I will practice 20 minutes every day for the next 6 weeks. Start slow with 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then gradually go to 12, 13, 14 minutes and just see how it goes. And sometimes also be okay if it's not okay, or if negative feelings come up, because I think that's maybe something we should really talk about, that people think, oh, I do mindfulness practice, so I'm jolly and happy all the time. But the truth is, sometimes negative stuff comes up, and this is life. And being okay with that, even when you're doing or when you're in the mindfulness practice, I think is really important, and being accepting of that as well. I hope that helped. So next question from Marta. Can you share examples of corporations, companies, startups incorporating mindfulness for innovation and what they learned? What were the results? How do I say that? I think a lot of the mindfulness programs in the larger corporate world that I know of right now are more focusing on the personal development part. And the research on mindfulness innovation is pretty new and cool. We're doing this with corporations. When you go to our website, you can see a couple of examples. But I think really relishing the chances that arise from mindfulness with innovate, or in combination with innovation, is rather new. So when you ask me for results, what I use and what I built on mostly is the research on creativity and mindfulness, and really the data we have created and gathered for ourselves. Next question, does mindfulness reduce anxiety? It's a yes or no question. So what the research reports is that mindfulness helps you to firstly become aware of the emotions that are going on. And mindfulness practices really help you also to basically deal with these emotions. So remember, at the beginning of our meditation, I said something like, now we just watch what is there, and maybe we even watch the emotions that are coming up. And mindfulness helps you to realize that you are not your emotion, and you don't always have to act upon every emotion you feel coming up in your body. And I think in this way, with practice, mindfulness can help you to distance yourself from these emotions and to realize that there is what we call a stimulus and a response, and a space between stimulus and response. And this space is yours to fill. And for me, that has been a really great help to just be okay with whatever emotion and sensation there is. All right, do we have any more questions, or does anyone want to just share their experience?
If no one has a question, I would like to talk again.
Yeah, sure. I just saw that there is another question from Jim, but
okay, then go for it.
And then, okay, I think that, Martina, what is the website? I didn't get a chance to write down all your micro suggestions. It's mindway.com. And there is a blog, and you can find all kinds of methods for mindfulness, personal mindfulness training, team, corporate mindfulness. Now, you had a question.
Yeah, because Martina, I'm also interested in all this mindfulness and neuroscience.
Yeah.
So it was very interesting to see your perspective. And what is special resonated with me was this start with beginner's mind, because we do tend to think that you should start really roughly and do everything as a beginner.
Yeah. So is the question how?
The question is like, no, the question is more like just your thoughts about this starting small, right?
Yeah, I mean, so the beginner's mind is actually a recommendation from Philip Kapleau, who has written a really nice book about Zen meditation. And I'd like to share my personal experience because I feel mindfulness practice is different every day. And the beginner's mind helps you not to expect anything from your mindfulness practice. So sometimes when I sit down in the morning and start to meditate, I just feel like I feel instantly calm. I feel instantly relaxed. And I just feel like, oh, I want to hang out in this space the whole day. It's just so nice. But then I have other days where I just feel like it's tense and I don't want to sit and my body hurts and I just feel the tension in my body. And then it's harder to just sit and watch. And then there are other days where I feel like there's a lot of stuff going on in my mind, or our brain thinks all the time. And sometimes it's really hard to just be still and to just watch the emotions or the thoughts. And then it's also just not as nice. And I think the beginner's mind really helps you or me to be okay with the different situation every day, and to be super happy when I'm getting to the space where it's just calm and relaxed and yeah, and good. I hope that helps.
Yeah, because everything with human body is about starting small.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's very true. Any more questions? Don't be shy. Otherwise, I will ask a couple of things, and maybe you have questions on that, because I feel especially right now there's a lot going on. There's a lot of uncertainty. There are a lot of questions, and a lot of people are working from home, which isn't necessarily always easy. So if you have any questions on that, like how to integrate mindfulness practices in daily working life, or if you have like a special situation that is going on for you right now, maybe we can also talk about this. And I think everyone profits from your questions or from your experiences always. Okay, not too many. There's a question. Do mindfulness practices leverage neuroplasticity somehow? So yeah, I think I didn't make that too clear, but so the research says after six to 8 weeks, the they can see changes in the brain after 6 to 8 weeks of regular practice. And I can give a couple of examples. There is a study, a neuroscientific study on a monk. And this, for a long time, this monk was said to be the happiest person on earth. What has happened? This monk has been meditating for many years together with the Dalai Lama, and they have a certain practice which is compassion meditation. And what the research found is that the area in the brain that is responsible for empathy and compassion was super active for this monk, a lot more active than for other people or normal mindfulness practitioners. So in this way, I think that answers your question, and that goes in other directions as well. That's why I all the time said there are different practices. You can also do like a focus meditation where you focus on your breath, and this way you really train your focus and your concentration. With the open awareness meditation, you train your openness to be okay with things. So, and all of that basically speaks to different areas in your brain. And maybe a last sentence on that, what research found as well is that through mindfulness practices, particular kinds of practices, we can also create kind of new neural networks or new directions in the brain. So instead of like just going, I always say it's a little bit like taking the Autobahn or leaving the Autobahn and going left or right. And this is basically what happens to mindfulness practice. You're building new streets in your brain. Hope that answers your question. Thank you, Adam. So maybe one last question. And if we do not have any more questions, I would like to offer you a little practice to really experience the power of your brain. I give you 15 more seconds and the last chance to shoot your question. All right. I can see that you're all super excited to experience the power of your brain a little more. All right, let's do that then. For that little practice, again, I would love to invite you to close your eyes. I assume you're still sitting comfortably, so I don't really say much on that anymore. Just close your eyes right now. And then imagine a lemon lying in front of you on the table. There's a beautiful yellow lemon lying in front of you. Now pick up the lemon and just touch it for a moment with both of your hands. Feel the texture. See if it's cold or warm. Just play around with the lemon for a moment. Now bring the lemon closer to your face. And inhale. What do you smell? Now cut yourself a piece from the lemon and bring this piece closer to your nose. What do you smell? What do you sense? What is happening in your body while you're holding this piece of lemon in front of your nose? And now in the next step, take this piece of lemon and bite into it. Now, what is happening? What are you tasting? What are you sensing? What are you feeling? Now, for a last time, hold the whole lemon in your hand again. Touch it, play around with it. And then put the lemon back on the table next to a piece of lemon that you cut from it. And then come back. Now, maybe just type in what has happened for you as you were playing around with the lemon. Usually when I do this practice, a lot of things are happening. People get hungry, or they want ice cream, or they shudder. Other people just smile because sour seems to really make us human beings happy. No more typing today. Yeah, I think this is a beautiful practice to just notice how strong our imagination is, how strong our brains are, and how quickly we can actually engage with this imagination. All right, so we're coming towards the end. On the screen, I just shared an online journey that we are starting right now with Mindway, which is called Design Your Life. It's a 4-week online training for your purpose. So if you're interested in that, maybe just check it out and see if this would be something for you. Other than that, if you have more questions or something else comes up, drop me an email or connect with me on LinkedIn, send me a message there. Whichever way works for you works for me. And yeah, and this way, I think we're coming towards the end. I thank you very much for being here. And before I close, I'm giving the words back to Kenya.
Thanks, Martina, for a very relaxing webinar and also for nice practical advices. I'm sure that our attendees, they got inspired to try out some techniques, and especially like professionals like data scientists who needs to stay focused and keeping like the big picture in mind at the same time. It would be important for them. So for those of you who would like to rewatch the webinar and go through Martina's micro practices suggestions and just watch it once again, please go to Data Natives YouTube channel, Data Natives, and just rewatch the video. It's going to be there as soon as we finish. So thanks, Martina, and thanks to everyone for joining us today. And have a great evening.
Have a great evening. Bye.
Bye.